There's so much intelligence in every creature. Like, how did a feather get made? How did it already know what an airfoil was? Same with trees, right? They even know about flying. Maple trees make little spinners. And that tree had to understand gravity, it had to understand aerodynamics, it had to understand that it needed the seed further away from it so that that seed would grow. Like, there's just so much intelligence out there. With intention, you can make it kinetic and you make all these things happen.
Are you ready to see somebody's need for speed? I can put our wings in the wind faster than you could ever believe.
My first element of freedom was snow, was fresh tracks. I still remember those first snowboard turns that I ever got to take in fresh snow, and it felt like flying. That led me to becoming a mechanized ski guide. So I did that for 20 years every winter. I got paid really well just to have fun with people and ski fresh snow. As anyone progresses, you're just hitting bigger and bigger cliffs. And I was getting to the point where I could probably base jump some of these cliffs, like just with what I was hitting on skis. And then that's when I saw Speedflying. I had no clue the sport existed, and I was just like wishing that there was a better way to merge parachutes and skiing. So when I saw this, it was like almost like heavenly sent. I was just like, someone made me exactly what I was thinking of, and it was boom, right there in front of me, all of a sudden. It was Antoine Moton, François Bon, and so they developed a really small glider so that you can skim the ground while you're still skiing. To see like how fast and low these guys were flying, like it just made me instantly realize that I had so much to learn. I'm like, I'm already behind the game here. Like, these guys are so good.
That's one of the coolest things about Speedwings is integrating skis into flying. We call this speed riding. So where normally you would see maybe a massive cliff, and that's something you would completely avoid on your skis. Well, with a Speedwing attached, you could ride right up to that cliff and then fly right off of it with your Speedwing, come down to the bottom of it and continue flying and riding down the mountain with your skis and your Speedwing overhead.
Eventually, people just started foot launching these things, myself included, and then a division of the sport kind of came out where we call it speed flying. Like, I remember a lot of Europeans at the time would put their Speedwings away with their skis and thought people were crazy for foot launching them. Once I had that word, once I knew it was called speed flying, it was a lot easier to refine. Just typed in speed flying lessons and it popped up at Cloud9 in Salt Lake City. I went down there for 10 days straight, an intensive crash course.
Speedflying in Canada is, I think, a challenge. You know, we don't have these big trams like Europe does, where you just take a chairlift ride to the top of the mountain. We don't have mountains that are okay with us flying in their airspace.
In Europe, a lot of the ski hills allow speed flying and paragliding, hang gliding right off the top of their lifts. They have designated areas, even on their maps, they have little paraglider logos to signal where you can launch from, where you can land. And in Canada, we don't have that same sort of access.
A lot of it is hiking yourself up a mountain that maybe you've never flown off before. It's always a little bit crazier. You're never gonna have the progression that you would in places like France or Italy because you can't get the mileage.
Being the only speed flyer that I knew of on the coast definitely slowed my progress down. I didn't want to die doing this, so I knew I was going to have to put the time in because I had to be extra cautious because there was no one at the edge to tell me to stop. I was putting a lot of my time in at the Chief, hiking it pretty much every night. I just spent my time on that edge. I'd sleep overnight, so I'd wake up there in the morning, you know, always looking for how grass is moving or how the leaves are moving in the valley, how the clouds are forming. When you're paying attention to that invisible force, you are definitely a lot more connected to the environment. I remember getting to look down that face for my first time and feeling the lift of a wing. Everything in your body is telling you to stop, but there's that one thing that tells you to keep going. And I knew that that was the door to every other option available to me. Our community grew pretty fast once you know, I opened up the Chief there, just because it was over the highway and right above town, so a lot of people could see it. We were highly trained in first aid and mountain rescue, so our confidence was growing really, really fast, and we were successful. We were all making it home every night. That was the honeymoon phase of the speed flying community, was that first year or two there. Our little speed flying community grew pretty fast, but it also grew pretty irresponsibly because there wasn't teachers or classes or, you know, even beginner terrain to start on.
Yeah, buddy. Oh yeah, like a champ.
We were suggesting that people that wanted to learn how to speed fly go get education through the Hang Glide and Paraglide Association. So the P1, which is your Paraglide Level 1, that's kind of the introduction course to flying, where you get to learn how an airfoil works, how to read wind, how to safely tie into your equipment. We as a community, we were always very aware of the difference of being a beginner paraglider and moving into speedwing. Right? Imagine learning to drive on a school bus. It's big, it's slow, it turns slow, it stops slow. And then when you go to a speedwing, it's like jumping in a Ferrari. That was part of our unofficial mentoring, was to help show these people the differences of what they learned in the P1 and what they're going to need to know under a speedwing.
Speed flying is an extreme sport. And like every extreme sport, the risks are potentially serious injury or death. So this is an obvious sport in need of education, training, and certification.
So we were trying to create a safe environment for people that were excited about what we were doing.
The community of speed flying and the community of paragliding were really separate. The dynamics between the two sports early on, and still a little bit now, is very similar to the dynamics when paragliding first came on this free flight scene. There's this new kid on the block, and they don't want him around, they're too dangerous. All the exact same adjectives that were used to describe hang gliders when they first came around and paragliders when they first came around, we're projecting the exact same onto this new group, which obviously I think is completely ridiculous and insane. As the sports have evolved, that cross-pollination has happened more.
Jeff Bertoya, or Hefe, was one of our new speed flyers. Hefe was Just kind of finishing his P1, you're coming out of this class with just 12 or 15 flights under a big, slow beginner paraglider. We were on Haybrook. It's a 1,000-foot vertical cliff. And without having these beginner zones, you're using these expert launches where you don't have room for a mistake. When I saw him make the mistake, I witnessed a paragliding move. He touched that speed wing like he was still under his paraglider. We knew his wing struck the mountain. We heard him strike the mountain. Because it was such a big vertical cliff, we weren't able to see the end result. My hope was like, oh, maybe he's hung up on something. Hopefully he's just hanging there with a broken arm, and scrambled our way down the slope to go see and assess the situation. We got our eyes on Hefe, and we knew that it was no longer a rescue situation. So it was pretty traumatic. I saw it when I closed my eyes. I heard the noise over and over. Or if I heard similar noises, it would bring back terrifying images of the reality of what gravity can do to you. So after Hefe passed, there was a lot of wings for sale. That was a line for a lot of people. But I knew right off the bat that it wasn't going to stop me. I met Tanya through my skiing group. Pro skier, outdoors enthusiast, went on big hiking and camping trips and chose the same chips at the store, and so it was going pretty good.
If I don't get outside on a daily, I'll probably lose my mind. It grounds you. There's a reason why you feel so good when you do get outside and you connect with Mother Nature, because we're meant to be outside all the time. And flying takes it to that next level.
One of the first dates that we went on, I hiked the Chief with her and flew off without her.
I've hiked the Chief a few times, and never had I seen anyone fly off of it, let alone this new human that I was, really interested in and really liked. But it was one of those things where you're like, this is frickin' cool.
When she got back to the bottom, her first question was just like, how do I do that? Yeah, it's coming up fine, coming up perfect. Torpedo, little break. I had no doubts that she was going to be good at it. So it was really easy for me to say yes and want to mentor her, is because she already understood and respected what being in the mountains is about. We're married now and we have a kid, and flying is the biggest part of our life. It's cool to share that with your wife.
For me, it was awesome to move back to the Okanagan. I love the Okanagan. Okanagan for me is home. I grew up in Penticton. I think Sean might tell you a different reason that we moved to the Okanagan than I would.
One of the reasons Tanya and I moved to the Okanagan was to have more geography to work with for flying, to have our launches be safer, because when you're not launching off a cliff like the Chief and you're launching down a grassy slope, there's room for error here. And that's why it's the hub for Western Canada for speed flying.
It's embarrassing to say this, but Canada is one of the last countries in the world to integrate speed flying into their paragliding and hang gliding rating system. Speed flying is a part of our community. It is a cousin, a sister, a brother sport to our other sports, and it deserves the right to have the same structure of education, syllabus, endorsement, training, instructors to reduce the risk significantly.
Mama.
Yeah, ready? Yeah. He's going. Well, I'm telling you, I'm not gonna lie to you. I love seeing this setup. We got a lot of people here to speed fly. So I started here last year. I came and I did, 50 practice flights up there where you just got the wing up. And every time I come here, I'm meeting 2 or 3 new people. And those 2 or 3 new people come with all sorts of different qualities that nobody else has.
Whether to mentor, to be mentored, or to just progress, everybody gathers there every long weekend of the summer. To have everyone that has a bunch of different experience and a bunch of different types of wings in one spot for a long time, it just naturally ignites this conversation that's going to save someone's life. And yeah, it's always fun flying with friends. It gets so much cooler when you look over and there's someone upside down with you.